Good morning. I'd like to welcome anyone who's here today. This is Saturday Live with Jackson Sewing Academy. In real time, my name is April Jackson, and I am very excited about this episode that we are going to be working on. This is an idea that I have had for a long time. I have done some live classes where I've had students come in and we created these custom dress forms in-house. But once again, it's always repeated. It's always only one person, two people at a time. I wanted to have something documented that could be used multiple times and that many people would have access to. So here we are. I know I look a little strange to begin, but there's a reason for this. To create a custom mannequin, we need to make sure that we are taking the proper measurements. And what I had done for today was I put some tape around me at the portions that we want to be measuring today. And this way you could see it better. I wasn't able to get tape on the side seams, but I drew up my side here and along my shoulder. So hoping that's going to work for us. Before we get into the measurements, I want to go through the items you will be requiring to create your custom mannequin. First, I would like to talk about why you need a custom mannequin. A custom mannequin is going to be a dress form mannequin that is shaped exactly like you are. There are many tutorials online that show you how to tape yourself up in a t-shirt with duct tape, cut it out and then stuff that. That is an option. It's just where my problem is with that is you have a total hollow interior that you have to build out. And I would think it's kind of a little floppy. I've never done it, but I used that as my jumping off point when it came to creating the mannequin. I felt if I had a nice solid base to start with, then I just have to build out from there. And that's when I came across this idea of starting with just a foam mannequin and building it out so that it's going to fit my shapes and curves. When you're going to create yours to create your shapes and curves, what I really want to stress is that you be honest. And doing this process, especially the first time I did it, I found it kind of depressing. When I think I did my first custom mannequin when it was a little after COVID. And as I began building her out, and building her out and around, I got a little depressed. I'm thinking, do I really look like that? Is that really my shape? And it kind of made me sad. Yet we need to embrace the bodies that we're in. We need to love ourselves for who we are. If we want to change our shape, lose weight, whatever, do that. But love yourself where you're at. When you dress proper for your body shape, you're going to look beautiful because beauty doesn't come from the outside, it comes from the inside. So always remember that. Don't get depressed. Just work with where you're at now and just love who you are, because making a custom mannequin is going to really up your game when it comes to fitting clothes that are already made. If you purchase something at a store and you want to customize it and there's no one else around to help you, you can do that with your mannequin. I use mine a lot when it comes to making clothes from scratch. I like to drape on my custom mannequin because I know when I drape from this point to this point, I'm going to get the exact look that I'm going to be wanting. And then if I like how it looks on my mannequin, I know it's going to look good on me because my mannequin is pretty much a representation of my shape and my figure. To get started, we're going to need with some sort of a mannequin to start with. Now, depending on your figure to start, if you're anywhere from a small to, let's say, just a standard large, extra large. Technically, I think I have like we're going to know my measurement. I have about a 40 something or 38 bust. I'm not sure. We'll find that out. But with that in mind, even with my waist being 30 something, I'm considered like an extra large. And it depends on what you're measuring from. If you are a fuller figured girl to start, you're not going to want to start with a smaller mannequin like this because there's going to be a lot of building out. If you can access even a dress form, the adjustable dress forms aren't all they're cut out to be because they don't have all the curves and everything. But if you can start with a dress form that's a little fuller figured to get started, then you can do everything we are doing. Just you have a good start. You're not starting from something this small and working your way out. It also, starting with a nice firm base, just is a little bit more stable when you're working with your dress form. So keep that in mind when you start with something. The majority of what I have used, I've gotten these on Amazon. You've probably seen them. It's just a simple mannequin. It's only foam. It has like a little black tripod base. This one, I have removed the stretch velvet that was on top here. This is one that I have used many times and it works great. It's what we were going to use in it. I think you can, the price point is anywhere from $50 to $70. Once again, if you can get one cheaper, do that. This mannequin here is exactly the same. The foam base, same shaping. The black material on this one is glued on, so I did not take it off. Where this varies from the original is I made my own stand. Anyone who has used these dress forms before, or sometimes any dress form, knows that it's not the most stable when you're pushing and pinning, and especially if you get a heavy garment on it, it's going to start tipping. What I had envisioned was, first of all, a taller stand so that it is more my height. The original stand that came with this is a little short, so I needed a taller one. But to create that stable base, what I did was I got myself the base of a rolling chair, just an office chair. But not only that, I tipped it upside down and I filled it with concrete. Just Quikrete, nothing fancy. It was messy to do in house. If you can do it outside, it's better. But once it is filled, I have my wooden dowel, and my wooden dowel is actually screwed up through the base of the legs from my chair piece, and I have this really nice stable dress form. If I wanted it not to wobble a little bit more, I would probably add some shims into the opening where the dowel goes in. Right now it is, there's a little bit of space in there, but you could always add a little bit of something in there to keep it from doing that little wobbling there. But that doesn't bother me at this point. So the first thing you're going to need is a dress form of some sort, a mannequin to start with your base. To build out your body, you're going to need some padding. If you don't need to, if this is your exact shape, I'm jealous. But if not, we are going to build out the curves. I have some quilt batting, and it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be all brand new, just quilt batting. And why I like this also is because if anyone who's worked with quilt batting, you will know that you can separate some of these layers. So you put it on and then you need to kind of shave back on the padding. You can do that. I have many pieces. Sometimes I'll roll it up in a ball. You will see how we're going to be using this as we put the mannequin together. We're going to need a bunch of pins, and it's preferred to have the pins with the ball on the edge. This way when you're pinning into anything, it's not going to get lost. If you have just a steel-headed pin, it's going to get lost into the batting as you're pinning it, and the batting is going to pull away. This is going to hold things in place. And pins that you're not going to need because they're going inside the mannequin, you're not going to be pulling them out anytime soon. We have a tape measure. You're going to need that. What I want to show you is a couple of options for covering the mannequin when it's done. This is the actual velvet piece that was covering the original mannequin. It's one I had used before, and the red is from probably some dress or something that was on it. Because it wasn't glued on, I was able to pull it right off. And with that, I am able to use this to make a new covering for the new mannequin. Now I can do that as long as the difference between this mannequin and the finished is not overly extreme. Once again, this does stretch plenty, so I could use this as my pattern, and it's still going to be a good shape. If I had to expand a little bit more, I would just make it a little bit bigger, add a little extra on the width, and if there was a little bit of in the length, we could do that too. But I did use this as a pattern, turned it inside out and drew it on my material. I have two types of material, and I'm not sure exactly which one I want to use for my cover yet. I do have the traditional black, and black is used a lot for merchandising. I do like using the black as well, because I don't know, I just like the black I can draw on it. But this is one I did trace out. Let's get it onto this side so you can kind of see a little bit the shaping. I did trace it out, and you need a four-way stretch, just like the original that came off of the mannequin. You need it to stretch lengthwise and widthwise, so I could use the black. And what's an option, if we don't really pin this and glue this to our mannequin, you can change out your color as well. We'll see how this one works. I did get this stretch scuba, hoping it's going to stretch enough to go on, but I do have more if I have to make it a little bit bigger. I liked the idea of the stretch scuba because when I watch design shows on television or anyone's doing fashion design, their mannequins do have that more of the taupe or tan color, and I did like that. So that's what I was trying to replicate with this. We will find out how it works. What we need to do with any type of mannequin that starts out like this, upon inspecting her, she's very narrow in the shoulders. Actually, she is very short from her shoulder down to her crotch line, and her waist and such is not proportioned to ours. So the first thing we're going to need is to build out her shoulders and lengthen her hip and like her overall torso, but her hip and her buttock area. And that's where we're going to add this item. Originally, I used the placemat from the dollar store, cut it, and it worked fine. It was one of these types of placemats, very common at the dollar store. Plastic on the one side, it's got a little bit of foam on the other. And this is what I had originally cut to put over top of her shoulders to shape out the shoulder, and we would pin and tape it to her here. But when I went to the dollar store today, I did not see these. I only have two and I would need more. So while I was walking around, I found something else that would work, we're hoping, just as easily. And why I like this better is because this has a bit of plastic. And so even when we want to pin it, we're going to be hitting that plastic. I want it so that we can pin this without hitting the plastic. And what I found is this anti-fatigue kitchen mat. It does not matter what the pattern is because it's going to be totally covered. This mat from the dollar store is a $5 purchase. I still need two because even though one mat will go around Missy here, I'm going to be using the remaining section to build out the shoulders, and I will need a little bit more. I need one for both sides. So that's not a problem for me because chances are I'm going to be making another mannequin at some point. I can use the other piece. Someone else can use it. To me, it's not a big concern that we will have that little extra. When putting her together, especially, I have a fuller bust, so I need my custom bra on my mannequin. And why I recommend using one of your bras, because once we start building out our form, if this bra fits you really well, then we know you're going to get that exact shape onto your mannequin. And we don't have to do all this shaping. It's already there. So find a bra that you can live without because it's going in the mannequin. You're not getting it back anytime soon. And that's going to really help with shaping the bust area. I do have a few bust forms depending on your form and shape. If you are more of a petite in the bust line and you don't necessarily need a big bra, you can always just add some bust cups. Pin this onto your mannequin, where we would pin it all around the edge just so you can get the shape and the distance where you're going to want. That's something we're going to determine when we do our measurements. You're not just going to pop these anywhere. This particular bust is really narrow and really close together. Most women know that our busts are not 8 inches apart. So you might require a smaller bust cup, pop it into place, and that might be all you need. Maybe just one of these onto here, and that gives you the shape you need. Whatever works for you. When constructing our dress form, we will be using packing tape and shrink wrap or saran wrap. My original dress form, I just used saran wrap, and the tape is going to help us to construct our mannequin and sculpt her at one point. The saran wrap is what we're going to do to wrap around and contain all the padding that we're putting in. This is going to give us a bit of a smoother outside, as well as when you're using your mannequin, if you use any steam, it's going to also help to protect everything underneath. But we will be using some of this for sculpting. And I believe that is everything we have that we need to make the dress form. Next up, I want to go through all our measurements that we will be taking, because eventually this tape's going to break. So I want to get that all done before that happens. The reason I have my tape like this too is because when making a custom dress form, it's important to understand that when you measure your circumference around a body part, the distance from your front side seam to the other side seam may vary compared to that same half distance on the back. An example would be if you have a really broad back and a small bust, the distance from the side seam, round back, to the other side seam may be wider than your front. For me, it's the opposite. Because I have a fuller bust, the distance between my side seam and side seam across the front is more than the back. If you have a fuller waist, or also if you have a fuller stomach, the distance from here across the front to this side may be more or less than the back. That's where we're going to get that customization in your dress form. If you have a fuller behind, then that distance is definitely going to be wider than your front. We need to make sure we understand each of those. Whenever we're making a dress or any garment, one of the measurements that is underestimated or not looked into enough is the length from part to part. And that is going to be very crucial as well, because the length from my shoulder to my bust point, to my waist, to my hip line determines whether we're short-waisted, whether we're short-waisted in the torso, whether we're short-waisted in our hip. I'm not lucky enough to be really tall in those areas, but if you are, then that's going to make a big difference. If your waist is here and your hip is down here, that means you just have more length in here. And that is a very customized measurement that can make or break any garment. So let's begin. The first thing we're going to take is your basic bust measurement. I haven't done this in a while, so it should be interesting. I have my tape. Hopefully it's fairly parallel where my fullest part of my bust is. Nothing popped. I heard something. Yeah. Oh, just this string here popped. Okay, we'll have to fix this after. I'll fix this. Oh dear. I was doing so well. Let's see if I can tie that back up after. We'll do that after. Not a big deal. So I want to do my bust measurement. I'm doing inches because that's what I do. You measure whatever you want. Ooh, 42 inches. I have 3 columns. I have my total, then I have my front and my back. My waist, remember I said don't be sad. I'm already sad at 42. All right, 35 and a half is my waist. And a half. My hip, let's do this. Right around. There we go. I got a mirror here. So I'm pulling, I'm making sure it's snug, but don't pull too tight. 42. I almost got an hourglass figure. The next measurement we'll do at this point is let's do those half measurements before the rest of my tape pops here. I'm going to measure from my side seam to the side seam. And when I say side seam, if you're wearing anything that's pulling and not stable, I want direct parallel up and down for your garment. Be honest with it. I think I've drawn mine on okay. You can see that there. Yeah, so I'm going to measure from here all across the front to that same spot on the other side. And then I will just do some simple math. 22 and a half. So do some mathematics. That leaves 19 and a half for my back, if that is correct. Oh, math. For my waist, I am going to do the same from half to the other half. 19 and a half. You will find your waist will generally, unless you have a bigger tummy or just a broad back, a lot of time your waist will be half of the front. Now we're doing our hip. This is the fullest part of our hip. Anyone who does pattern making knows that your hip is generally 7 to 9 inches from your waist. I know mine's a little bit shorter, so that's how I know I'm a little short-waisted in the hip area. Mine's only 7 inches. So my hip, I just did the hip, okay, but we're doing front. Okay, there we go, from the front to the side seam here. We have 21 and a half, and I'm going to just measure this back just to double check, which your butt is usually fuller, of course, than the front, so let's see if the math works out. 20 and a half. Let's do that again, because that's not, it shouldn't be, well, it could be. My front could be bigger than the back. If you don't have much of a butt, that could be 20. That's more accurate. 20 from the front. And I'm going to do the back, and then the back will be 22. All right. It just makes sense. I do have a bit of a tushy, so I want to make sure that when I make a garment, I'm going to get that fullness where I need. These next measurements are very important. I couldn't do the other arm, but you'll notice how I have here, where my shoulder, my set-in sleeve would be. The reason I like making sure I've defined this area, when I build out my mannequin, I like being able to create a nice armhole when I draft a garment onto my mannequin. So that's why I want to make sure I'm getting a good armhole shape. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to measure from where actually this collar is. This collar's a little low right now, but we want right where it meets at the shoulder here. And I'm going to measure from the neckline to my shoulder point. It's usually about 5 inches. Yeah, mine's 5 inches. So I'm going to put that here. I'm going to measure from my shoulder seam here across to the opposite side. Mine's 15. And that's also your back width. Unless you have a lot of body fat up here, chances are it's going to be close to your back width. Yes, where that can change. If you have wide shoulders and it's rounded, then yes, that can be different. but I don't have someone to measure me right now. And I'm already aware of what my back width is. So I just know mine's 15, but if I need it, I make sure I just measure across the front. That's one thing I do. The next thing we're going to do is measure from the base of your neck to your waistline straight down. And that's your back length. So I'm going to measure here, the base of my neck, straight down to, and mine, let me try that again, because it's hard to do when you're doing it on yourself. Mine is 16 and a half. Next, we're going to measure from where you're right here, from your shoulder point here to your bust point right there. It's hard to do in the screen because it's backwards. Mine is 12. Where the bust point is very important. I have seen shows, or I watch women with dresses, and I look at it and I think, wow, there's a lot of distance between this area and this area. Or I notice it may have something really, a top that's really up high, and I think, wow, that's really short. Those points are almost more important than our circumferences, because those are the elements that are harder to adjust. If you have a garment that is too wide, you can always take it in the side seams. But if you have something that's too long and you have to start taking up the shoulders, recutting armholes, resetting waistband seams, that's going to be a lot more labor intensive. So that's why we want to get those measurements right the first time. But also that's where that custom comes in. When everything fits you in your length that way, here to here, your bust is right in the curves of the garment, the waist is coming in right at your waistline. That's where the outfits are going to look that much better, like it's really custom for you. So we've measured our shoulder point to the bust point, and we also want to have from one bust point to the other. Mine is 7.5. That's going to come in handy when we get our bra on and we start molding out our bust. Next, if you do any kind of garment that is like a bodysuit, bathing suit, you're going to need this measurement. There are two ways where you can do this. Okay, I'll get the right side. Going to start right here once again, go right down. I'm going to stop right above at my hip line, but I'm also going to go just halfway down where the seam is to my pants, pretty much, right at my body. I don't want any room in there. I want it right fitted to my body. And that is 31.5. I was hoping to keep this tape here. You can also do the full measurement. Mine would be, this is a 60 inches, 64, probably about 64 inches. If it were to go all the way around, I would take out my 31. And so just a little bit more in the back, because of course it's going over our derriere. So you'll have a little bit more, but that is just an additional measurement. This type of dress form will not accommodate a bodysuit, but it's not something I've ruled out yet, because what I'd like to do is I'd like to eventually pad up my dress form so that I can even do a pant. If I have my buttock and my legs and even a bit of my a representation of my rise, my waist to the hip and everything, then I'm hoping I can even do some pants at some point. But today we're just doing a standard dress form. I'm also going to measure from my waist to my hip line. Like I mentioned, mine is a little shorter. My hip line is 7 inches. I'm also going to measure this armhole. Let's take a look. My arm is there. I want it more like that. So let's just do the whole armhole, and that will give me a bit of an idea for sculpting out a half decent armhole if I need. Right there, 17. Okay, we'll work with that. I'm going to go with 17.5. I'm going to cut off my strings now, my taped strings, and we are going to begin constructing your Missy. If you're going to use tape like this for design, get some actual design tape. This does not stick like it should. I forgot to point something out. This is my waistline, and it's a little hard to see, but one of the reasons why I like my custom mannequin, I have a slight curve in my back, which causes my one hip here, this side, yeah, this goes in further, and the distance from here to here is actually longer. This outseam is always longer than this side, because this one doesn't curve in as much. You can kind of see, I'll rub my hands along like that. And when I pad out my dress form to accommodate it's this side here, that helps me when I'm even doing a skirt, because there's more distance going over this curve than this straighter area. Another reason why I like my custom dress form, because it's going to fit my exact body. First thing we're going to do is we're going to build out our mannequins so that we can give her a broader shoulder and a longer torso. What I done earlier was I measured from my waist down to where my crotch ends, and that works out to 12 inches. It would almost be if you're sitting from your waist to where your buttock is, and at the bottom of your buttocks, that's where that line is. So I need 12 inches. What I had decided was when I'm lengthening her torso, my mat, I actually drew a line from this edge to here, and that is 12 inches. So I'm going to cut that. And my earlier mannequins just had a piece extending down here. But the reason I want to have this whole piece is because since it's a little thicker, it's going to save me having to do a lot of padding on here. It gives me that little extra for thickness because I'm going to need it. So first thing I'm going to do is cut my mat so that it is 12 inches. And because I'm using this mat, I'm going to have this edge, that the finished edge right at the top. It's just going to pin in a little nicer on our dress form. So let's cut this guy. Nice. I'm going to cut my other one too because I will need my other side when pinning this. If this was long enough, I could have gotten away with just this one. Well, I don't want to be too skimpy. I'm not going to be too skimpy. It's not like making your own mannequin is a lot cheaper than buying a, first of all, an adjustable mannequin. An adjustable sewing mannequin just does not have the curves that you're going to need. You can expand an adjustable sewing mannequin, but what happens is because there's not like extra in the bust, you just get a wide circle of plastic that is not shaped as you're going to need. It's not your curves. So it's just not the end all be all. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take this, and because it's new for me, I'm going to kind of decide how I want to put this on. She will go all the way around, and let's get this on here. Actually, it doesn't go all the way around, which is fine. I'm glad I have the extra one because then I can piece that, and I'll probably piece it on the back. Obviously, I didn't do my math correctly. I did measure her, and then I measured this, and I was thinking, oh, that should fit. Let's put that there like that, and then we'll cut that up like that. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start pinning this into place. And mind you, when we put it around her circumference, you'll notice that we have some gaping. We're going to cut and trim that out a little bit. If you have a seam, I want my seam at the back. So I'm just going to take a pin and put it into the plastic, right into the mannequin, one side, and then I'm just going to keep doing that till I get to the other side. One on this side, put my pin in there, and I'm going to put a pin here. What I am doing is I want to get this in around the fullest part here. You can always take your mannequin and just put her on a table as well. Take her off and just where you can work with her there. But I want to be able to work so that you can see what I'm doing. The front, I'm going to make sure the front stays up. Looks like a funky little skirt we're making for her. Interesting. And another one here. This is my first time using this particular piece, this mat. So there is a bit of a learning curve for me too. And put another pin in there. These pins are just holding it for us as well. We are actually going to be using some tape. Now, one of the reasons I also like using something nice and firm, because I don't want everything kind of pushing in all the time. I do want to keep that shape. If you want a really good oval shape on the bottom, what we can do is also add some cardboard to keep that out. I just want to make sure this stays parallel. And once again, that's where the ball pins come in handy. It is holding everything in place for me here. Before I fill in my gap here, what I'm going to do is start trimming away and conforming my waist to my mannequin. A few more pins in here. Don't be afraid to use lots of pins if you need. All right, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, nice and smooth there. All right, let's start. I'm going to keep it flat in the front, so let's flatten that up here, and maybe my side seams too. Let's get my side seams. A pin in there, and let's. This will give you an idea. This is almost like putting darts. That's exactly what we're doing. We're cutting darts out. I cut a little V. So what's what we're going to do? I'm going to try something. Let me grab my blade. I'm going to also cut another. See? Yeah, that actually is a little bit better for me. Just be careful you don't cut your mannequin or yourself. My mannequin, I can feel she starts dipping in right about there. We're basically just cutting some of this out so that this is going to fit nice and smooth. Because this is all going to get all that padding over top. So I'm going to bring that down a little bit more. It doesn't have to be glamorous. What I'm going to do is that area I cut, I'm going to pin her down. Like I said, this is new for me. I've never used this before. So we're figuring this out. And then that goes there. I'm going to cut a little bit of that out there so that. So what I'm doing, I'm actually going to pin this down right here. So it's into pinning the dart into place. So it's kind of flush. And then this piece is going to overlap. And I'm going to kind of just eyeball that and cut out the excess. All right, line that up and cut out that excess. There we go, get that out. And so you cut out that triangle. And now I'm just going to pin that down like that there. Actually, I'm glad that we didn't have our placemats. This is actually going to work out really nice for us. Oh, nice. Okay. So that's good there. Going to leave that. You can see on the front now, we just have this little bit in the front now that's peeking out. So I'm going to trim that out. Get my blade, just trim out a little triangle. And now we're going to pin down the rest of this. Nice. One thing I found when I made my custom mannequin, making my mannequin helped me understand a lot of the curves and such on the body and how they work. And I had a student who, it was a guy who he wanted to do dance clothing, and same thing. When I showed him how to create the mannequin, it really helped him when he was fitting garments for the dance girls, because they were girls and he had a male body. So yeah, it was really a great idea and a great opportunity for him to understand the curves and such. So I cut a slit. Now I'm pinning that flat right here, a couple pins. Hold that down. The bit that overlaps here, you can see is about an inch. I'm going to cut that out. There we go. That's going to fit in there. Sure. And now that fits. So I just figured this out on the fly. Now I just had an idea. It's not really a bad thing that I don't have enough here, because when I do put another piece across this area, I might actually overlap it just a little, because I do need extra girth in the back area. So that will fit nicely there too. So now we have half of our bottom done. Good, 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 good. Looking good. It goes in. Everything's going to stay in because we will be tightening this up with tape after. Now we're going to remove that excess in here, doing the same method. Let's start. Put one here at the halfway point, putting a few pins straight up and down to hold it flush to the mannequin's hip. Going to create another dart in here, where here I did two. I might not need two. We'll see. I'm getting the hang of this now, so I might not need two. Let's put one down first. And now, I don't need to do another one. I guess I was just getting a little cut happy here. Here, I'm just going to cut that little V out, so that's going to lay nice and flat. See? Now we're going to just pin that right down, so it's nice and flat there too. It's like we're making a rubber skirt for the mannequin. If your body measurements do not vary a lot from the mannequin, let's say even adding this onto your mannequin makes her hip measurement more than yours, you're just going to add padding to your base. If you are a really petite girl and you have very narrow shoulders, this just might be your shoulder width, then you're not going to need to add the width. So you're just going to add the padding, skip to the padding section, and you're going to omit this portion of the creation. But do that and just be patient till we get to that other section. Now let's flatten out this piece. Straight up and down. Make sure I'm not cutting my mannequin or myself. There. And my slash, where my mat is right flush here, my slash is going right to that point. Let's flatten that out. And here it's raining outside. There. So now where this piece is overlapping, we're going to cut out that extra. It's right there. Just line up the blade and cut straight down to the point. My first cut was kind of messy. These ones are looking pretty good. Experience. I'm still always learning. You'll never stop learning. There we go. She's looking pretty good so far. Now we're going to finish off this back edge. Let's think. Just there to there, and there to there. And if I put that there, I'm kind of thinking out loud. And then there to there. Yeah, okay. I am going to overlap this a little bit. My mat edges, both, they have like this, it's pinched. I'm going to cut those off. I want both sides to be symmetrical. So if I have a straight edge on one side, I want it on the other side too. I will put my piece from here to here, and that will help add into the buttock section. So what I just need is to know that's going to overlap to there, and I'm going to cut it here. So let's do that. I'm going to cut it along this glass. Here we go. Put you over there, and let's cut off this finished off edge here. So they're both the same. I'm sure it wouldn't make a big difference, but, and in the middle, start here. I'm going to pin straight up and down. My mannequin is ending now. Her body ends right here. So we have about 4 inches extended here. I'm not exactly sure what these dress forms are for, whether they are just for decoration. I see them quite frequently in the fabric stores, but when I see them, I'm always aware of how narrow the shoulders are. What I'm going to do, I want to make sure my hem, this is even here, so I'm going to just pin that together if I can. Just put a pin in for now, don't worry. I'm trying to put my pin in and down through the other section of foam because I don't want it sticking out the other side, but we will be, that's all going to be covered up and taped up anyways. We just want to make sure that there's no pins are sticking out when we are wanting to work with the mannequin. We don't want it to be dangerous. We're going to cover this seam with tape too anyways. We'll tape it up to give it nice and smooth and hold it in place. Oh, packing tape, another one of my favorite things to use. Some people are duct tape. I'm a packing tape person. I'll get that taped into place. And then once again, we actually don't have to cut that out because we can just lay that flat right there and pin that into place because there's no other overlap. So just going to pin that down and then we'll secure everything with our tape. We're going to put a little bit more to kind of smooth that there. Just another one and do the other side, and then we're going to taper up and our bottom half will be done. I know she's still not quite near my measurement yet, but we're going to check and see. Let's do a hip measurement. We are working our way to 42. So let's do that. Well, sometimes you wish you were there, but we're not. This is 37.5, so we have a bit more to go. I forgot to mention, I did already measure from my nape of my neck to where my waistline is on my body. My waistline is right here, and as you can see, the waist of the mannequin is actually up here. We are not looking at that measurement. I need from the nape of the neck to here, and that is my waistline from here to here. So that's just important for you to know. All right, before we go to the next step, I want to tape this into place so nothing is popping out. Grab your packing tape, and this is where we're going to wrap this nice and tight around her waist, over top of the pin. There. Our first row there, and now let's go up just a little bit more to smooth out and keep that waist nice and in place. There we go. Roll around. And now I'm also going to tape over top of these seams here. I want them nice and smooth. So, I normally use my teeth to pop all these, but I always get in trouble whenever I use my teeth to cut things. So I'll be a good girl today and just used my snips. I'm going to flip that under, and I'll put a couple of more to make sure that seam is encased. So you don't have much headache. Every time you put your tape down, here to here, I keep my finger right there, cut, and I'm going to flip my corner under because we all know we hate looking for that piece. Now I'm going to do this side. I'm actually liking this. I'm always a little scared trying something new. I'm actually going to take these pins out. I don't want them sticking in to the inside where, so I'm just going to tape this down. I've overlapped the original piece of tape I just did, and that helps extend it. The corner, put this under, because we know we need to add some more. Well, our torso is ready to be built out, the bottom half. Now we're going to work on our shoulders. Doing this extension is actually the most challenging part of this project, but it's necessary, and like I said, it gets easier every time I do this. Now what we need to do is we need to extend out our shoulders. The exact measurement doesn't matter at this point because we are just going to get the shoulder pieces on. Then we're going to measure from our center back over halfway each side, and then we're going to trim it off to get the exact shape that we want. Let's start with, I'm going to use this smooth section here with, and this is just because I've got this that I'm using. See how when it's cut, it's about half an inch thick, maybe a little shy. I am going to have this tapered area. Okay, let's see how we're going to do this so you can see. It's going to be like a shoulder pad. I'm going to start right here, right there, and I'm just starting on top of the bust. And let's get a couple of pins in first. This area is what's also going to form that nice armhole that I'm looking for when I want to make something with a shoulder. Pin this. Make sure your pins are sturdy enough. Right to there. And I'm going to bring this down to about there, just maybe at the shoulder blade. And I'm going to tape that into place first, just from here to here. Then I'm going to do the other side, and we will begin shaping this out. All right, yeah, because my pins are popping out, and I don't want that right now. I need to have that into place. I'm going to tape that into place. Up and over. There we go. The tape helps keep the pins from popping out too at some point. Let's do that, and one more just to kind of get some good coverage. Pulling it nice and tight. Down to our back section. Got that there. Next, put the second one on. Looks like we're making some high fashion here, doesn't it? I just noticed something, which you won't notice once I get the padding on, but with doing the back the way we did here, it actually gives a little bit more of the shaping to the derriere. But sadly, I need to add some more padding for mine. So that's all going to be lost. All right, let's get this other one in. Our main concern is that this is going to be the same distance. If you want to establish that, I think what I might do is take a ruler and just make sure my ruler's parallel. Okay, same distance there, and put that there and over the shoulder. Let me turn this towards me just to get my pins in. And same distance here to here. If I had to pick up every pin that I dropped on the floor, that's all I'd be doing all day. Creating this also helps you see how sometimes design comes together. We're going to tape that up, and then we're going to cut this and trim her out. Yep. Oh dear. Make sure I don't lose that. Oh dear. Nice and taut to the shoulder blade. Then we put another one over top just to make sure it's nice and smooth. Put tight over the shoulder. And there. All right. This is where we're going to actually mark the measurement, our actual body measurement. We're going to imagine, well, there is the center line, center back and center front. And our shoulder measurement from shoulder to shoulder is 15 divided by 2, 7.5. So we need 7.5 across each side. 7.5. I have a marker for marking on 2. So 7.5. And this will go over half, and 15, which will be my other 7.5. We're going to spin her around and do the same. Across my shoulders is the same distance, 7.5. This is the position. If you had a jacket or something was set in sleeves, this is where that measurement is. Sort of like even this shirt that I have on, you can't see, but right around the armhole. That's the mark we are doing right now. Remember, we measured from the nape of the neck, the shoulder area, and it was 5 inches. Let's do that now. 5 inches there, and 5 inches here. And this is where we can connect these now, here, and same here to here, and the same here to here. This is where I had taken the measurement for my actual armhole. What I want to do is this is going to get pinned in like this, and this is going to shape that armhole. I'm not cutting this right yet, because if I was to cut this straight down here, you will see that it's not going to make that armhole shape still. I'm going to want to pin this flat, and then I'm going to shape this into that armhole, but I will cut that after I get this all pinned down. So I just wanted to get that line there first. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pin this excess here, and I'm actually going to trim this now. I'm going to cut this straight across. I don't need that excess now. So I'm going to do the same with this there. This is something a little new for me, making this shape for the armhole. I'm going to pin this nice and smooth along here, this excess. Let's see how this is going to turn out. I'll pull that down actually. Okay. Now this will go like that over the bust. And we trim that. We're going to see how that's going to go. Like I said, we're learning here. There. I'll do the other side too, because I want to use tape to kind of hold all that down. And then we'll do a little bit of a trim. Get that shaping that we're going to want. This is the most time painstaking process is getting this extra shaping here, but this is the most important part. Without this excess in the width and the way you need it, it's just not going to fit. The time you're going to save when you can just throw garments on here, when you can just use your body form for draping and everything's falling beautifully, is well worth this process. To there. All right, I'm going to use my tape, cinch up around here. There we go. Yeah, need that nice and tight. Up and over, bust. There we go. All right, smooth that out. And I'm just thinking. So I also know that the depth from my shoulder here to the base of my arm here, I'll get the tape going the right way. If I do this straight up and down, is 8 inches. So if I do 8 inches here, just kind of feeling that out. And we're going to just do a little bit of a nice curve here. Down there, shoulder out. And I'm going to swing this under here too. So it's going to meet up with that. Let me double check my measurement here. There to there, that's 5. That's 5. And then straight down, actually straight down a little bit and down there. Okay, 8 inches to there. So it's going to come up around here and then make that up here. All right, we're going to trim that out. There we go. See how she's coming. When's that? Okay, looking good. Cutting this. Not bad. I actually am pretty impressed with that. Cut the other one. My goal is to make sure I'm getting at the same distance everywhere. I want to make sure my armhole is the same. Also, anyone who does design knows that on the top of your shoulder here, this has to meet at a square angle where that joins. You don't want to have it coming to a point. So I am making sure that's a square angle there first. And then now I'm going to cut down. Remember, whenever you're trimming something away, you would always rather trim a little less than too much. Nice. If I should say so myself. What I need to do right now is fill in this little area because otherwise everything will collapse. And you can do that with just some of your cutoff pieces. So I'm just going to take that and stuff some of that inside just to help build that out. Just want to make sure none of it's sticking out. I don't want it coming past my armhole here. So let me see. Maybe it'll fit better on this side in a reverse because I have some space in here. You can just use some of your batting as well. And if I have to, I'll just trim that up. But I'm going to just try and stick that in there so I don't have to do any more trimming. Up into the bust area. Perfect. And that's going to help hold out my armhole. And I'll probably just put a little bit of extra padding in there, just even some of the foam. Let's take our extra piece that we had here and stick it in there just to keep that shape. This project is great if you have any extra, anything that you want to use up, like stuffing and things like that. I'm going to double check this measurement. I want to make sure that it is my 15.5, no surprises. Yes, nice, 15.5. How beautiful is that? See how she's coming along? She's got this nice shape coming. I just wish I had this waistline too, but that's okay. I'm not going to, it's neither here nor there. Fill the rest of that in there, fill that in there. Good, good, good. I think at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to start building her out now. I was thinking what I could put into here to help fill in the, in here. And would be additional, I have a bag full of oddball plus cups. So I thought, let's see, maybe something like that would work. So let's see if we can figure that out. I want something with a good shape that I don't have to do a lot with, but I can just kind of get into there. But I don't want it really sticking out like that so much. So maybe something a little flatter. These are those cups that no one ever wants. It's like cardboard. That maybe, that tucked in. Yeah, not bad. Because we're putting padding over top of this too. So let's see if that's doing what I want. Sadly, I never looked to see if I had another one of those. Oh, do I? Yes, I do. Good, good, good. So I'm just going to put a couple pins in there. I want to make sure she's not going to come popping out, but just put a couple pins in there, and that's going to help me to create a nice armhole when I want to make something. So there. Anytime you don't have to like try and fill in a lot of air, that's what we want to do. And that's why working with a solid mannequin to start is such a good idea, as opposed to starting with a big hollow body that you made out of duct tape. Tuck that in. We're just filling in this area just so we don't have to put so much stuffing. Good. All right, there we go. I'm going to do a quick little measurement. Let's double check and see if this arm circumference is similar to mine. Can't remember what it was. 18. So good. So that is 18 inches. Here's where this is going to really work for you too. If you're like me and you have a fuller bust, we never get enough coverage in this area. A lot of things cut in, really, there's gaps. So this, once we start building out our boob or bust, is going to make sure that this armhole is going to give us the coverage that we're going to need. Yes. Now, let's put our bust on. This is where we're going to put our bra on. And we're going to make sure that all our areas or the lengths are in the right place. Before I put the bra on, we're actually going to pad her out. Because what's happening is with my bra here, it's ending here to here. And I don't think I want to add that cup onto a little bit of fullness. So first we're going to start building out her waist. Whatever your skinniest part is, we're going to build that out first. I have pieces from before. This is the area that can get a little depressing, but do not let it bother you. So I say, and it bothers me, but that's okay. I'm going to start building out here and here. And as a female, we know for some insane reason, God also gave us back fat and things like that. So we're going to add some onto here as well. Everywhere is getting a little padding of batting. I'm going to flip that up. There's really no particular method here. I just like to pad out my waist first because it is the narrowest part of me. And then we start building, once it's where I want it to be, we're going to start building out the other fuller areas. I'm just going to start pinning a few things here. I have my box here because I do have a bunch of just miscellaneous pieces. So I'm just flipping this up because it's adding twice the width that I need. Wrap that around, just kind of get it in the shape and keep adding till we have my waist measurement. And don't worry, this is the area that's going to be taped and saran. So you just need things to be held into place enough that they don't move. Nothing else fancy. I do have some narrow pieces that I had used at one time. Fill that in, and I'm just going to start pinning some material. This is where you also need to know, do I have more distance in the front from side seam to side seam or in the back? Because you're going to add the appropriate padding in those areas. If we have a perfect circumference, but let's say you have more in the front than you do in the back, then you're not going to get a well-fitted garment. So this is where you want to make sure you're honest to yourself, because you will get an amazing outfit when you do that. All right. Yeah, this was the part when I did it that I got really depressed because I'm thinking, oh, that should be enough. That should be enough. And then I just kept on going and kept on going and kept on going. It wasn't enough. So which side is my crooked side? This is the side I need. I shouldn't say just crooked, but my opposite thing, because I do need to make sure get that proper shaping. Even if I don't get the shaping 100% with the mannequin, I just know when I make a pant that that's an issue, and I accommodate. My waist measurement, my front is 19.5. So I got a little bit onto there. Let's measure and see. This is my waist down here. Imaginary side seam, 19.5. Oh, we're only at 16. Okay, here we go. Let's add there we go. And another, that's going to hold that there and there. Pin in, hold that a little bit. I love this mat because now I can actually pin into this material. As you're building up your shape, you will actually build it a little bit fuller. When you do your measurement with a tape measure over the batting, you're going to measure it a little fuller because we will be cinching this in with the saran after, and that's going to take out a couple of inches. So you always want to kind of make your batting a little fuller because we will shape that up. I'm going to add some batting over top of here, and let's get some of this my pieces and stuff a little bit into here, so a little bit to soften up this area, just to hold into there, nothing fancy. So I'm going to put something over top of that, put a pin in to hold it. Lots of pins will go through. There we go. And sometimes I find out I have more than pins in there. There's some needles. Hold that. There's really no 100% right or wrong way to do this. As long as your measurements turn out in the end, that'll be good. I'm going to put that over top. So that's kind of filled that in a little bit there, softened it up. Like that and that. That one's not bad. If you add enough in the first place, then you don't have to keep adding more. I'm looking forward to getting this mannequin done because the mannequin I did have, it was a little too small. So anytime I made something, it just didn't fit right. So I should have been happy with my figure. This is that batting, but it's also kind of separated, so it is not so thick. And this is where we're going to start padding up this area. So let's just put some pins in up to the neck. Got to remember too that this neck is probably not anybody's actual fit. Whenever we're doing something like this, we want to pin down the center first. So just put some random pins in. You know your own body and you know what your body looks like, especially with clothes on or off. And that's where it's going to come in handy that if you know you have some extra female fat up here, then you know where you're going to be putting things to get the actual look. Because I want to make sure I'm going to be crossing over here, and then we're going to add some over top of the shoulder here. Put that right around, almost like a shawl here. I got back fat. I know that. For some insane reason, God thought we needed that extra fat on our backs, and that's the extra fat we can't get rid of, but we're okay. Here, I'm going to kind of pull that a little tight there, smooth that out. I know it's not looking like much right now, but hang in there. I cut that, and I shouldn't have cut that yet. That was silly. Oh well, not silly enough to take it off. I can always fill it in. Fill that in, and a little piece to go in there that I cut. That one shouldn't have been cut yet. Put that over top like that. There we go, and down here. So now I'm just going to put a little bit over top to soften up my shoulder area. And let's see, probably just put a piece like that. I'm not going to overlap a lot, just a little bit, and then I will probably pin this out like that afterwards. Make sure it's going to be trimmed down. Like I said, it's all going to get cinched in a bit because of the final area of saran that's going to be on there. Okay, cut that off. I can fill this over here. Cut that over. Do the other side in a sec. Let's see what we want to do here. We want that to overlap, but not be too bulky. I don't want a whole lot of overlap there. I don't want to bring that out too much, just enough. And we will always double check our measurement afterwards. Trim this. I'm going to trim this a little bit. And maybe round that out a little bit there. And we're going to put a little bit of a notch in here just so this can smooth out nicely without giving us a lot of bulk. And what I'm doing is just making sure that's nice and smooth, but still maintains my armhole shape. I'm actually putting my pin like a little bit sideways so that it's joining onto the batting behind it. If you're pinning something together like that, and then I'm going to do smooth that out. There and there. Got that side. I'm going to do the same for this. Okay. Let me see. That one just went like there to there and end it there. Okay. If you can keep things symmetrical, then you know it's always going to kind of be balanced when all is said and done. Okay. There to there. Cut straight across, same spot. And here. Shorten this. I just want to make sure that the top edge of my shoulder here is nice and smooth. Cut out my little V for shaping. Let's round this out a little, maybe a little round here. And now get this second side done. Same thing, I'm just kind of picking up the batting from behind, and just always make sure the tip of your pin is always pushed inside. You do not want to be getting poked when you are using your mannequin. Okay, she's looking like a sausage. Now what I want to do is I want to kind of make sure that I'm having enough fullness in here. So when I put my bra on now, that it is looking a little bit more true to shape. Let's see where we're at waist-wise. Okay, 33. We need 35.5, so we're going to add a little bit more. Okay, let's do this. And let's just do that. We're just going to add this piece on, and we'll see what this does to the measurement. As your padding gets a little fuller, that's another reason why I am actually using to hold this into place. Just kind of pinning like you do if you were pinning a couple of layers of fabric together, because it's not going in enough to get, there's too much padding that my pins aren't going that long. All right, let's trim this guy up, and we will see what our waist is now. 35. Good. So that is like 36 if I go really just soft like that. That's 36, but it's going to get to our 35 once we add our tape and our saran wrap afterwards. So that's the main thing I wanted. My waist now is at 35, and now I'm going to start adding my bra on, building up my top half, and then adding and building up the bottom half. Because in building up your waist, you got to remember, we're not just building up here, we're building up this whole area. And that's what's going to make now putting our bra on better than if we had just put the bra on the small bust area. First thing we're going to do is get her done up, and then we're going to get the bust area into the right height, because right now it's way too high. This bra doesn't do up at that, so I have to pin her into place. All right, this is where now we are going to get this bust point down low enough so she's at the right spot. Okay, my bust point from the neckline or the shoulder here is 12 inches, and we want that to be our 12 inches. And that's my bust point right there. So just maybe a hair down right there. That's 12 inches right there. So that's good. Just make sure the same for this one. And remember I said it was 8 inches apart from bust point to bust point. So what I might just do is this bra, if I were to pull it all the way out, it's too far. Now that's not a bad thing though. We wear undergarments to help shape ourselves. So right now, actually, I think I am going to go with a little bit more separation. With the undergarment I have on, it's more like a sports bra. So really, it's pushing my bust together. I actually like the more separation. So I'm going to keep it that way because I will probably wear a garment like this, a bra, if I'm getting dressed up as opposed to the sports bra. So I'm not going to change that. I am going to keep that right where it's at. Just pull down this at the back, get this into place so it's not moving on me. And so I'm going to double check my back. We want 15.5, and we have that 50, and that will be 15.5 once we get all our tension, like the saran on. That will get that back into our 15.5. And we know my waist is down here, so that's good there to there. Now what I want to do is I'm going to double check my bust measurement. So it will be right parallel here to here, and we need 42. Right now that is 41. What we can do, what I probably will end up doing is adding a little bit more padding just at this area to bring out a little bit more girth here to here, because obviously I don't have enough there. So I'm just going to move that a little. Do up here, don't go anywhere. And that's going to add another piece across the back from side seam to side seam, and that will bring out that area where I need it. I don't want to affect my armhole, so I'm just going to keep that underneath. You may find that and think that is looking sausages. I did when I first made these. Once we get also a little bit of tape and a little bit of definition for the waist, it doesn't look as bad. You won't be as sad. Put you back on, and let's say, okay, there we go. If you need an extra hand, just put a pin in to hold the bust in place just till you get the bra on. It's not like the mannequin's working with you to help you get things done around here. 11:53. If you're okay to keep going, I'm going to keep going. I may have my the lady who takes care of editing. She may just cut out some of the, speed up some parts, but I want us to keep going. So if you're okay for another bit, I am too. All right. Do another quick measurement for our bust. And we are at 42, so that's perfect. I'm happy I'm doing this because I know before when I was making things for myself, they weren't turning out the way I needed it, and it was because I was cheating and I wasn't doing the right measurement. Double check this length back to my 12. Yeah, we're good. Bring that down. All right. So now we need to put some stuffing in the cups because otherwise we have nothing. I think I'm going to use some of my old misused cups here because I have some random ones that don't fit. So my main thing is that I don't necessarily want to add more. I just need to make sure the cups don't push in. Not there, not that. Oh, that one will work. Too bad I had 2 of these. That would work. And I'm going to put in, it's like a gel cup, but it's not a gel cup. Do not use gel cups because then if you happen to poke something, you will end up getting a lot of fluid. I'm actually going to put my cup upside down because I've got padding in here. I just need more up here. Just going to put that in like that. Oh, there we go. That's better. Fills that in nicely, and I've got a firm bust. There we go. I just said that and I didn't do it that way. There we go. So what I'm going to do also is I still have a little bit more to fill in here. So I'm just going to, I just want a nice smooth here. I don't want sticking out. Put a couple pins in here. Hold that down. Just basically you're sculpting your shape. Just putting some shaping in there. I will double check and make sure I haven't increased the bust size at all. That's also something we want to make sure of in adding that extra. 42 still. Oh dear. Good, 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 good. Okay. We can add a very thin piece over top of that. And if we want, remember this does separate. So if you wanted to add a piece and it was still a little full, we'll do that. And that's going to smooth that out a bit more for us too. We don't want to add any more to our armhole or anything. I just want to kind of smooth out the bra area so it's the same consistency or the same feel. Just pin to the bra now. This isn't adding any extra depth or anything. We'll cut around the neck a little bit and trim that up. I'm not going to bother doing the rest over here. I just wanted to kind of have a smoother line at that area. Now we are going to start with our hip. Just getting this part back down. I just put here. This way it adds a little bit more to the neckline because this neck is a little skinny compared to my neck. All right. Now we are going to add to the hip, which we are going to just begin. First of all, I know I'm going to need a little extra in the back, so I'm going to build up my back right now. That's going to get put on first. We're going to put a couple layers here. You could also use other padding, like, well, they actually make butt pads, so you could certainly use a butt pad if you really wanted to. I had also contemplated at one time for smoothing out a shape. If you're a woman like me that actually wears like compression garments, or, you know, things to smooth out our body lines, that basically you can use that over top of this, and that will give you the shape you want to, as long as you just pad it out. But I was thinking, even I'd seen shorts, those shorts you can get for yourself that already have a little bit of booty already included. Well, that would work too if you wanted something like that. I was thinking also, because I think a lot, who needs one of these? Well, if you are, first of all, a drag queen, you could certainly use one of these, because you just make your dress form to the shape of your body when you're in drag, and you have an amazing body double. Anytime a drag queen can do something on their own, it saves them a little bit of money, but also this way you can do some on your own, or if someone's commissioning something for you, you're commissioning something for somebody, that is an option. If you're into cosplaying, definitely you will want something like this, that you can make your own garments, because once again, 20 and a half. This way it just helps you make your custom outfits. My hip is, I need the front to be 20 and I need the back to be 22. So I'm going to add just a little bit more, just a little more to the back. That'll do. There. And I'm not going to, and what I'm doing, I'm actually extending this a little bit longer because I do want this to kind of wrap underneath that finished edge after. So let's put this here like this. And I'm not going to trim that much because I will be putting one layer all the way around, holding everything into place. I now need the front to be 20, there to there. When I have done this class, this session, it's usually a 4-hour session. So we may get it done in 2.5. So that's what we're going to aim for, is 2.5. If something's taken a bit longer, we can always skip and speed up. That's what I like with the finished product. And somebody thinks I'm done. There we go. I'm probably need a little bit more than that there. So I put one more. Open this out. So I'm going to put that underneath a couple pieces for the front. And let's see where we're at in our measurement. There and there. Please be 42. Please be 42. Ah, nice. 42. Awesome. That's what I want. I have just enough to flip underneath here, so that's perfect. And I'm not actually going to add anything else on this because I am happy with the way she is. Let's establish our waist once again. That's good there. We're going to smooth that out. We know our waist is going to be from the nape of the neck down to here, 16.5. So that's perfect here. Good, good, good. Almost done this baby. Slide this over. I know she doesn't look like much now, but give me a second. What we're going to do next is we're going to give her a little bit more shape. Take my tape and I'm going to start here. I need to define my waist a little bit, so I'm spinning her around this area. And this is where it does cinch in a little bit, where our measurement was I think it was a little bit more. This brings it in, and if we need to, we're going to pull it just a little bit more to get the shaping we need. Let's check her out, do a test. I need 35 was what I needed. I have to check every few minutes, 35.5. So let's do this again. Make sure we're at, because if we're not, I'm going to do it again and cinch it in. Oh, we're backwards. I just need to bring that in a little bit more. And it's hard to do unless you have something to grip onto. So now that I have this laid down, I'm going to cinch that in just a little bit more till I get my 35.5 waist that I need. There. Okay. Now, what we could do is before would wrap her up in like a saran wrap, just to kind of help hold everything in. But this isn't too bad. Like let me see. Okay. I'm going to just put our stuff over top, but no, I'll do it the right way. I'll do it like I said. I want you to see why we would do this part. I'm going to get around. Once it grips, I just like having a smoother shape, and I can get this with the wrap. There we go. I'm glad I did this. As you can see how even it smooths out my armholes there. I just happen to have shrink wrap. If you don't, I have literally used saran wrap before. We're going to bring this up here. I'm going to end that there. We're going to smooth that out, and then we'll do the bottom half. Let's smooth this out, because that's the thing with shrink wrap and saran wrap. You can do that. Pull it, smooth it, and it will ultimately protect your material, especially if you use any steam. Yeah, it's better. Yeah. Okay, I'm glad I did that. See how much better that looks? If you want to, I like a little bit more definition in my cleavage. I will actually just cut that and smooth that out, because I don't want, I like that more definition. There. Okay, so that'll give us a bit more definition there. Yes, and then I'll do the same with the bottom now. What I'm even more excited about is next week, the project I have a dress that I've had for a while, and I got it at a secondhand store, and it is much too small, but I love the design. And we are going to put it on the mannequin, and we are going to cut and slash the dress itself to make it the same size as the mannequin. And that's how we're going to customize the pattern. So and how we're using our mannequin to give us a custom pattern that will fit us. Okay, looking good, looking good. There, just bring that around. Like I said, this is where it helps if you have somebody to help spin, but I just make it work. That's what I do. All right. Good. Nice. And our last thing we're going to do is we're going to put our cover over top. There we go. All right, we'll use this one. You'll see how much easier this will be. This one has a lot of extra give. Stretches both widthwise and lengthwise. There we go. All right. That's better. There we go. Tuck that under. This back up to here. Just tuck that into there. I'm not concerned about the side seam on the fabric here. If I want it, I will actually draw on some design lines, and I would use those if I was making something, but okay. Oh my goodness, look at this. This will just get flipped underneath, and because there's foam underneath, I will just pin that into the foam, and there I am. Look at that. How nice is that? I love this because when I want to be able to drape on this, everything will be in place. I can take some fabric, pin it right into things, and then that's how we're going to get the awesome fit by having our own custom mannequin. My distances, from the length are just right. Now she's exactly my width too, so I can make garments and know that it's going to fit. And next week, we are going to make the dress I've been wanting to make. So I want to thank you for sticking with me. Even if you come and see it afterwards, we will speed up a few parts. It might be a little dull, but other than that, see how nice she looks? I actually don't mind the way she looks, so which means I gotta like how I look. Thank you for joining me this Saturday on Saturday in Real Time. Thank you if you stayed a little longer. I'm very happy that you were able to do this with me, and I really look forward to seeing some of these on the Facebook page. If you get a chance to make a mannequin, do post it. I will post mine on our Facebook page. Thank you for joining me, and next week, join us for taking a ready-made garment. It's too small, and we're going to make it fit, and we're actually going to use it as a pattern. So thank you, April Jackson, Jackson Sewing Academy.